Welcome to the Opinionated Geek podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Hanna, and this is episode going on 22, I believe. Uh, I was not happy with episode 21. I felt like I was a little too unprepared, a little bit fidgety. I didn't like uh my movie review. I am going to try to do better with that. Luckily, or not so luckily, I did not see a movie this week. I want to go see Solo, but I haven't seen Solo yet. I was going to do it Friday, but for some reason I just wasn't feeling like it. So, I didn't go see it. So, we'll have to go do that maybe this Friday then. But, yeah, some stuff I was missing with the Deadpool. Well, not some stuff. This is the thing that really popped into my head that I'm like, that was the one thing that was like actually kind of a really positive thing that I thought I should say was I thought Domino, the black girl, the internet of course made fun of it because of the little like eye thing, and they had a barf from Spaceballs next to it, and they're kind of just like laughing at the idea of this character. Now, apparently, she is a character in the comics, although I believe she wasn't black. Was it even a girl? I don't know. Don't know about the character at all. But just the way she looked when they first revealed how she's going to look, and then the actual trailers, I don't even think have done justice to the character. I thought she was a lot more charming than she is. The way they set her out to be in the trailer, and kind of the way that she was portrayed when they first like said, "Hey, this is the other character that's going to be in the movie." So I just wanted to point that out because I feel like I basically was just going around in circles, and I didn't feel like I was really giving the movie at least any content, like, substance, meat of like a really big opinion. I was just like, let's just spoil the movie and kind of how it went down. So I at least wanted to point that out. With Solo, I'm going to try to do better. Like right after I'm done seeing it, uh, I'm going to try to write like a review or something down ahead of time, because by the time I get to the podcast, I forget a lot of the information. All right, so enough of that. We are going to start talking about the games that I've been playing this week. So, surprisingly, with the Humble Monthly Bundle, they give you one game that they announce, and then the other stuff's for the most part a mystery type thing. So, this upcoming month, and you can still buy it right now, is you for $12 you get Destiny 2. No expansions, no nothing. It's just the standard game for $12. And let me real quick. Humble bundle. What else do you get? You get Cook Serve Delicious 2 and Ken Foley's The Pillars of the Earth. Both are actually, from what I understand, really good. Ken Foley's The Pillars of the Earth. Apparently, Dodger played this, and I forget where she said this was from, but it's a book series somewhere overseas, and apparently it's kind of like the Witcher in wherever that's from. For some reason, I want to say Poland, but I don't think that's correct. But anyway, it's it's a book series that's as popular as the Witcher series in its own home country. So it's like the after like the Bible, I think it's like the second most read book out there. So, but it's done it kind the way it kind of seems like it's a little bit more interactive, obviously, but it seems to be like a more like an interactive type thing, almost like a Telltale or uh, it's not quite a visual novel type game. And then, of course, Cook Serves Delicious too. Uh, Felicia Day is always talking about Serve Delicious, so I've always actually wanted to play it. So now I actually have it, and I will be able to play it. But I actually, to get a more understanding, I recently looked it up again on YouTube, and I'm not sure if it's something I would be really into. It's a more of a restaurant management type game where people come in, you got to make sure you make the burgers and all that stuff, and so it's really apparently it can get pretty stressful. So if it was more of a relaxed type game, I might be into it, but since it's a management game and when you get your rush hours with restaurants. But anyway, so far they've just announced Destiny 2, Cook Serve Delicious 2, and The Pillars of the Earth. So I checked out Destiny 2 because I bought Destiny 1 when it was the was it the Taken King? Hey, how's it going? And so they had like I think two expansions out for the original Destiny when I bought it, and I only bought it for like $40. Uh, but that I had to have that on PS4 that no longer works because of lightning. Uh, so I kind of had an idea of what to expect with Destiny 2, compare, especially with some of the reviews. They were like, they kind of did the same thing where they almost did stuff right, but then they just went back to, we got to make this a service and not so much a good game. We need to keep you coming back. So there's a lot of uh, repeating stuff. Uh, so that's the biggest issue there. Though I will admit, there's what I've noticed is there's actually seems to be like a story. So after you do so many quests, though it feels like kind of like Far Cry 5 in a way, where you do so much quests and then all of a sudden there's a cutscene, and although you're not a part of that cutscene, it kind of gets the story moving along. Where Destiny 1, it was just like, here's your quest, do it. Oh, you done that? Go do another quest. So this one seems to be a little bit more better, but I still wish they could have just, you know, made a big open world and not have all these zones that I gotta load into. Uh, the first night I tried it though, when I was going back to the social area, the farm as they call it, uh, there was a big loading time to the point where I actually just decided to stop the stream because it was taking so long to load. Now, I've now played a little bit more, and that is seems to be not a problem. The loading doesn't seem to be that long, so I don't know what happened there. It was the first day that the Humble Monthly Bundle charged everybody, so that might have been it. You could unlock the game earlier if you wanted to, but I guess if you wait till a Humble Bundle charges everybody, obviously there's gonna be like, oh, there's my game. So for this month, so let's go get that. And I guess a lot of people were online. Maybe that's why it was taking so long to load. But it eventually loaded. But I stopped because I stopped streaming anyway. But overall, it seems to be okay. But it still gets to the point where it's like you do your quest, and always at the end of the quest, there's the whole thing where you can't respawn. And then of course you beat the end boss type thing. Quest is done. Go back, get your reward, they give you another quest. Kind of rinse and repeat. And because it's the loading thing, that's kind of annoying and stupid. So I wish it was just one big open world, and I hope the BioWare one, was it going to be called Anthem? I think it's called. I could be wrong. I hope that one's going to do what Destiny should be doing, where it's a nice big open world, where it's the quests are actually engaging. It's not just fetch quests essentially, or at least that's the way it seems. But anyway, anyway, we'll move on from that. We'll do a quick little Magic the Gathering update. Yeah. So this is just a quick little update. I haven't actually did anything with Magic the Gathering this week. I haven't done a lot of stuff this week, but again, I'm doing new things, so it'll take me a while to get into the groove of stuff. But I did open up a pack, and I got another card that I wanted, which is a if you check my Instagram, I'm sure people have seen it, but it is the Mox Amber, and it is a foil. So this one's worth like the non-foil one has gone down in price big time. It was originally like a $30 card, and it's now slowly gotten into the $16 range. But this one's still 15 to 16, or I'm sorry, not 15 to 16, $50 to $60 depending on who buys it, obviously. But it's going around for that much. So this was another card. This was a card I actually really wanted because of when I played Magic originally, like 21 years ago. Uh, the alphas and betas were still the big thing, and they're still the big thing. They're the most coveted of the Magic the Gathering. But back when I played, there was no such things as moxes, except for if you actually had an alpha or beta mox. But they have, I guess, over the years have started putting moxes back in to the game, and I got one, so I'm really excited about that. Even though I know it's not going to be, the couple $1,000s that an actual mox is worth, but that's okay. So I guess we're going to go on to news, because I haven't really been playing. Destiny 2 is the only thing I really played as far as video game wise. This is kind of funny. Fortnite players are paying real money for bodyguards and coaches. This is as bad as playing World of Warcraft and not wanting to actually play the game, but buying a character on eBay that's already level 60 for a lot of money. And then, of course, the best part about those types of games is you actually learn how to play the character as you level up. So if you're buying a character, you don't know how to play the game. You don't know what spells it's got. So basically, if you're going to go on a raid or something, unless you've actually like do a lot of solo stuff beforehand, you're actually going to probably get your butt kicked. And depending on the type of character, with like World of Warcraft, you are going to get your butt kicked. But I think this is funny because Fortnite, it's like, come on, guys, it's not that hard of a game. I mean, granted, you might not win every single time, but it's a very arcade-based game. It's not even like meant to be realistic in the sense like PUBG, which I also have news on that too. But yeah, I mean, the bullets actually will curve down after they've gone out of the gun so long. It's like it's not meant to be necessarily serious. In fact, even if you lose, I still feel like you have fun. PUBG is a little bit different. When you're constantly losing, it starts to get annoying. Fortnite doesn't seem to be. I don't feel like it's that bad of a thing when you actually are dying. But I think that's funny. People are actually paying real money for bodyguards, and I'm actually kind of curious of how that works. I guess if you join a squad, but if you're like playing solo, then you're like, it's not really you can't really hire bodyguards because of the whole just being put into the game randomly with a whole bunch of people. Where with teams, you actually can get your bodyguard people, I guess. And coaches, what's there to coach? It's an FPS game. You jump, dodge, and strafe, and also in the process with Fortnite, you try to build walls and stairs and stuff. All right, Nioh. Nioh has sold over 2 million units. Uh, I to me, I guess that's pretty good. I would say it's kind of bad when you like look at other stuff, but when it's a game that isn't that big in general, I think it's actually a pretty good deal. Also, especially since it was only on PS4, even though PS4 is the top console right now, they did move it to PC now, which I eventually want to get it since my PS4 is not working. I would like to get it on my PC, but I really enjoyed Nioh just because of the setting. And if people aren't aware of, Nioh is kind of like a Dark Souls clone, so it's really, really, really difficult. But through repetition, you can actually get past things and accomplish things and get further. I actually like it more than Dark Souls just because I like the setting, the ancient Japan setting, and it's pretty interesting. If you haven't checked it out and you don't mind difficult games, I would definitely check it out. It's one of those. I'm not a difficult game fan, but for some reason the Dark Souls and Nioh, they do a good job at once you actually get past something, you definitely feel an accomplishment, which I don't get from other uh, difficult video games. Mainly because I'm thinking maybe it's because of the fact that other games they have cheap mechanics that make it difficult. Where the Nioh and Dark Souls type game, they actually have there is I feel like there is with some of the characters, there can be little random things like they'll be doing the same moves over and over, and then all of a sudden they'll do this new move that you've never seen, and it can catch you off guard. But I don't feel like it's very like cheap mechanical uh overall. So again, you can get it on PC. Apparently the PC port has had its issues. I'm not sure if they fixed that or maybe it's going to be like a Dark Souls thing where the community is actually going to fix it. But anyway, awesome game if you haven't played it. This is kind of makes me sad, but The Wolf Among Us Season 2 is going to be delayed and until 2019. This was my first Telltale game, I believe, that I played. And it's the one that I love the most. Maybe because it's from a series that I was not aware of, and I actually eventually bought some of the comics, but I don't know if the newer comics from this series is actually has a different vibe, but the older comics they don't have the vibe of The Wolf Among Us. Not really, but it's from a comic book series called Fables, and it's really interesting because all the fables for the most part have to I can't remember. I think they have to take a drug of some sort to basically look like people, and they live in I forget what the town's called, but it's essentially where all the fable people go. So you got you play in this game the big bad wolf, and you got like the Huntsman, Snow White, Ariel from the Little Mermaid. All these. What I love is Ariel from the Little Mermaid is a stripper at a strip club. So, and this is very mature because there is nudity and stuff in it. But it's a detective movie video game where you play as uh, Bigsby, the big bad wolf, and you actually are trying to find out a murder. And it's really interesting. And actually, I was really surprised because I thought they weren't going to make a season 2 of this, just due to the fact that it's a it's from an IP license that I don't think a whole lot of people know about or care about. Where of course you had The Walking Dead, which they were like, here, have 10 seasons of this thing, and I want to even say they're going to possibly make a Game of Thrones season 2, even though I don't think a whole lot of people like the Game of Thrones Telltale game. I thought it was okay, but I went back and played it and tried different choices, and for the most part, it doesn't matter what you choose. Uh, the same stuff's going to happen, and I'm sure that's the way it is with The Wolf Among Us. But because it was such a unique story that I wasn't aware of the comics, that I fell in love with it over. I didn't care about The Walking Dead mainly because I don't like zombies. Even though I realize The Walking Dead's all about the interaction with the people and not so much the zombies. Uh, and then of course Game of Thrones. It was cool that they use the voices of some of the characters in Game of Thrones, but for the most part, the story was kind of meh. But I am excited for The Wolf Among Us season 2. It just sucks that it's delayed this long. Uh, and then of course, to me, uh, sad news is it wasn't a month uh when he said he was going to basically retire from game uh criticism. But John Bain, aka Totalbiscuit, died on the 24th of May. I think that's when it was. Uh, what I really enjoyed about Totalbiscuit and what he did from what I know of him, which isn't anything. It's basically what everybody else sees is the personality of him online. Now I know people have drug up some comment that he had written almost 10 years ago, and I think we all do occasionally say some stupid stuff, and I think that was the same thing, and I'm sure multiple people have done stupid stuff like that before, and even the guy that he said it to uh, has basically uh, forgiven him and all that stuff. But what I really enjoyed about Total Biscuit was he had an ethic when it comes to his no yeah just the ethic of his actual his channel. Um, I was watching the co-optional podcast the one day, and it blew my mind. But he said, with just within that day, he had turned down like $15,000 in promotions because of the fact that he doesn't believe in the idea of uh like basically they'll give you money essentially to do a positive review type of thing. Uh he said he's people will give them even just like a thing of candies or some wine or something. Uh he never did reviews, at least that's what he's said, of when people do stuff like that, because as soon as they do that, it puts a biased opinion, whether he wants whether I want to admit or he wants to admit or whatever, although he did admit it. uh it allows you to have a biased opinion on how you're going to review that game because that person went a little bit over extra to be nice to you. Now, some people might be able to put that aside, but uh, I think most people would unconsciously take that into consideration when doing a review. And what I liked about Totalbiscuit is he never ever did that. It's from what I gather, and he's always been very honest has always whether he likes something or disliked something, and that's why I really respected him. I know there's some stuff about the Gamergate thing. I never really got into the Gamergate thing. I just to me it's like whatever. Now people uh apparently Felicia Day even had some issues with some people like attacking her, and but I don't want to get on a tangent with that crap. But I don't know enough about the whole situation because some people said it was something about this and something about that, and I'm just like, it's one of those things where I'm like, whatever. But it sucks that we won't be able to, especially with the co-optional podcast. His wife is going to be taking over his command now, so when they do the podcast, in fact, they actually did a few hours ago, and she did her first podcast sitting in his chair doing the podcast. And it was basically a memorial thing, and that will be up on their YouTube channel, I think, on Thursday. If you want to watch that, then. All right, we'll get on to some media. Lock and Key. This is another comic that I forget how I fell into it. I want to say I was at a comic book shop and somebody recommended it to me. Want to get his name correctly. Yes, Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son. If you haven't checked out this comic and you're not even into comics, like I'm not a fan of these. I'll watch the movies, but I'm not a superhero fan. I like the more independent type comics where there's in general a story and there's an ending, beginning, middle, and end, and that's where it is. That's why I kind of like manga. A lot of manga has a beginning, middle, and an end. And maybe we'll see an end to Berserk one of these days, but I don't think so. Uh, but yeah, this is a really cool comic. They it's it was basically been reported for a while now that it's going to become a TV series, and naturally that's something you got to take with a grain of salt until stuff starts to mature a little bit because half the time these deals fall through. But apparently it is now picked up by Netflix, so we might see something in the future. But this is probably one of the most unique comics that I have ever read. Uh, and it makes me wonder about his other stuff because although I'm not in general a Stephen King fan, but the fact that this is his son, it makes me like, okay. Because one thing Stephen King does, from what I have read of his, is I really like his characters. They come to life almost like a Tarantino type thing because the dialogue seems so natural and uh yeah, yeah, I guess that's all I really wanted to say about it. The dialogue is very natural, and it's some of the stuff that you talk about is almost like what you would talk about every day, like back and forth with your friends and stuff, kind of like a Kevin Smith film. Uh, so yeah, that's that. This is actually going to be a really short podcast. I thought I'd have a lot more to say, but I don't. But again, if you haven't checked this out, you can also on Audible they have a full cast Lock and Key audio version. I still don't believe it's as good because seeing the description or seeing the actual artwork and then what it's actually on about. But uh when you're doing it through an audiobook, this has to be an actual it's a visual and uh narrative type story. And actually, I'm still kind of curious about how they're going to do this in uh if it's going to be a live action. It's going to be interesting if it's going to work. I don't know if it'll work, but it might. It's going to probably have to do a lot of CG to make it probably be really worth your while. So I'm a little worried because most of this stuff, like the comic stuff, well, I should say the manga stuff, they really kind of drop the ball every time they try to do a live action one. Ugh. All right, and then on to some personal stuff. Uh, hey, hey, there we go. Uh, I'm going to start learning how to program. Uh, I see the downfall right now of what I'm actually doing with my life, and things are slow, not slowly, they're quickly coming to an end, and I see the writing on the wall. So I have to kind of do something with my life. I've always been afraid to, and this is always my problem. I let little tiny things get in the way of possibilities of big things. But I've always been afraid of working with a job on a computer because I like and enjoy computers so much that I don't want to come home and my hate or don't even want to look at my computer because I have to, be on a computer all day at work. So I'm putting those fears aside and I'm looking at programming, and I've chose Python as my first attempt at learning a language in the PC. So it'll be interesting. So far, it seems to be fairly easy right now. But I also even am fiddling around with what the heck's it called? Swift Playgrounds. It's an app on the iPad, and it basically teaches you the Swift language that Apple created, I believe. And it's a game that teaches you how to program in Swift. So far, that seems to be really fun, but then again, you got the code on one side and a little game on the other side, and it seems a lot more fun. But I'll be curious to see how I feel about Python and whether I'm going to like enjoy it. I feel like I would because uh, I do like to solve problems and I like to fix things. So we'll see how this goes, but it's something I feel like I have to do. I'm like, you know what? I hate my job now anyway. So even if I don't like doing this, it's like, it's just another job that I would hate, but I'll be making more money. So, but I think the more I'm like looking into it, I'm like, this is it is a good starting point, but I guess from what I'm actually more interested in actually doing it, maybe even for myself, uh, I would like to make virtual instruments, uh, like software VSTs, because I like to make music on the side, and that would be fun to me. But naturally, it seems like the the language to do that would be something that I will start working on next after I'm done this little program on Udemy. But we'll be trying out this Unreal course, developer course, to learn C++ and make games. Even though I'm more concerned with the C++ than the making games part. But you know what? Hey, what the heck? Learn how to make a game while I'm at it. But it seems like C++ is the one to do if you're looking to make VSTs. But it's just from like looking at the code compared to looking at Python's code, it does seem to be way more complicated. Now they say when it comes to this stuff, once you actually kind of have the foundation, it's just a matter of learning the syntax of the other program, which I kind of find that funny because it's like, how am I supposed to explain this? It's like once you know the letters, or yeah, the letters, the alphabet in one language, you can start. You have the foundation to start. You know, doing something in another language. I'm like, I don't think so. I think you need to learn how to the actual sentence structure and how they put words together in that one. So it's almost like the foundation is, I guess, maybe like 20%, but the syntax looks like learning how to do full sentence structures that are completely different from uh another language. At least that's what it looks like to me. But again, I'm just started learning Python, but it looks way more involved with doing C++. But anyway, that's really all I got. I'm hoping to go see Solo maybe sometime this week. I didn't get to see it Friday because of all the new stuff that's been going on with my life. Uh, but we'll do a better job at actually reporting it and doing a review on that. But I hope to have a much more a better. I'm going to start probably writing small notes throughout the week of stuff that I want to actually talk about with, you know, different areas of blah blah blah. Sorry, I'm completely lost. All the like little tiny details, bullet points. There we go. Bullet points of stuff that I actually want to talk about because with that Deadpool review last week, I completely missed a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about because I didn't write it down. So we're going to start writing the stuff down, even if it's just like little tiny stuff, so I can actually have my brain more organized. But I think we're going to end this, and I'm going to start learning more Python. I did my first quiz, even though it was super, super simple, and I think if anybody couldn't pass it, they shouldn't be online either. But I did pass with 100% for my first quiz. Well, thank you. I hope I do. It's it'll be a enjoyable experience. So far, I'm actually That's what I forgot to do. That's what I forgot to do. In order to encourage me to continue the program concept, I've been actually listening on from Audible, Masters of Doom, which if you haven't read the book or listened to the book, I actually recommend listening to it because I love Will Wheaton as a narrator. But this is a great book to keep you pumped up and inspired. Uh, at least for me when it comes to coding, because they're talking about coding games and throughout the whole book, and it's done in a very this it's not done like a historic book. It's done uh like an actual story. If you actually read it, like a third person story, it doesn't actually talk about like them as themselves, but it does do a good job at telling a story in historic context. So I highly recommend it if you actually are interested in games and game development and just the history of id software or ID software, whatever you want to call it. I called it ID software as a young kid when originally starting to play Doom, and then I guess it's called id software because that's what they say on the book. But anyway, yeah, that's this book is keeping me inspired to continue to move forward with the coding. So yes, go check out that book if you haven't checked it out. All right, I guess we'll end this now. Thanks for watching, and of course you can. It's Friday. You should be able to actually catch this on the opinionatedgeek.com or my YouTube channel, and I'm sure if you just look up the Opinionated Geek podcast on YouTube, you'll find it. And eventually I'll have enough people subscribe to me on YouTube that I can get my own channel website link for YouTube. Anyway, that is all. Thank you very much. See you next week.